I think the best advice for students is to do internships because that gives employers more comfort with you because they know that you can do similar work. Maybe you won't do the exact same work. And so they know that you have that work ethic and that you can do the work. I didn't start out in communication. I started out in engineering. And I can remember in my sophomore year, we're in an advanced calculus class and we're calculating these, like if you take this shape and you rotate it, what's the volume? I'm just thinking, what is the point of all this? I can't see the point, and I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I had done competitive public speaking in high school and also in college, and so I just then gravitated towards the communication side as a result of that. I was in graduate school. I took this class in genre, and you say like these genres of speech. Most people think of genres as movies, but there are like these genres of speech. It's the same like there's Western movies. Well, there's different types of genres, like State of the Union speeches is their genre. And my professor liked obscure genres, so he assigned us each one. And I had what people said on the gallows, so what they said right before they were hanged. I'm like, that's kind of interesting because there were like 2 or 3 big crises going on at the time. I said, oh, that's kind of like these companies. They're out there and they're about to get hanged because they're in this crisis situation. What do they say? And so I was interested in it. And so I studied that a little bit. And then when I had time after I was finished my dissertation, I went back to that because that still interested me. What do companies do when they're in these really bad situations? And how did they deal with that? And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of research on it. So it really made me think more about it and how could I sort of add to that and improve on the existing research. That actually changed it very dramatically because I was doing research and fairly successful at getting it published. But when I did the crisis research, that just kind of resonated with people. And suddenly a lot of people became aware of it. And as a result of that, I've traveled to a lot of places around the world to talk to people about crisis and to do training in them. And I've gone to places I never thought I would. I spent a month in Estonia. I spent about a month in Beijing doing work on that. I've been to Indonesia a number of times to work on some projects there. I did a trip to South Korea where I spoke at a major food company and then some government agencies. It really amplified the visibility of my research. And I always tell my graduate students, when you write something, you hope someone reads it. The lesson I learned is how important emotions are within crises, because we kind of come at it as social scientists. We want to be really objective. We want to think about the rational part of that. But the more I study it and the more I talk to crisis managers, yeah, there's a rational component to it, but the emotional side is so important to it, particularly the need for empathy for the people who are affected by the crisis. And that's always impressed me with crisis managers, is how much they care about their stakeholders, the people who might be affected. So yeah, they're helping their organizations, but they're really committed to helping the people who might have been negatively affected by the crisis. And so that emotional component kind of really is what surprised me, but I've really kind of integrated that more into the theory and the research as I move forward. It's important now because that's how so many people are going to learn about it. And in a crisis, particularly a crisis where people are at risk, and I think about food safety, you want to tell as many people as possible, do not eat that product. Throw that out, take it back to the store, whatever the option might be. And you have to use every channel available to get it to people. Some of the way people are only going to get it is if through the social media channels. Some people so only traditional channels, so you need to use that mix. But social media just has to be a part of that. As people used to talk about social media crises, well, that doesn't make sense anymore. Every crisis involves social media to some degree, because you have to use you have to use that channel as a part of delivering that. And one of the key things to remember is it's still strategic. 'Cause a lot of times people think like, oh, I can be quick, I can be witty on social media. Yeah, you can do that in normal types of interactions and kind of have some fun, like when brands poke fun at one another. But in a crisis, you have to be very thoughtful and think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, because it's going to affect the people involved, and it's also going to affect your organization. So don't forget about the strategic element within it. Be prepared for rejection. A good part of academic life is rejection. You have your successes, but you have to also know that you're going to have your rejections. That people are like, oh, people hate my research or something. When you get negative reviews, when you kind of send it out for peer review, that's just kind of part of the process. So you have to have some thick skin, because you're going to get some really strange reviews. I've had friends that have been researching, highly successful researchers, 20 plus years. They still get these sometimes really scathing reviews of their research. It's just kind of part of a fact of life. So you have this thick skin, but if you really believe in what you're researching, keep pushing it forward, because you have a voice, and eventually you want to make sure that voice gets heard. Yeah, I've been really impressed by the quality of the people who are here, and the work that the students and all you have done to kind of get this event going, moving it through. And I'm kind of biased, but I enjoyed the crisis panel, because I love hearing practitioners talk about their work and what they do, because it's always a good check. As a researcher, you want to make sure you're lining up with professionals. So that's why I like events like this, where you can really get a sense of what they're thinking and they're feeling about kind of what does it mean to do crisis communication, what are some of the issues they face and their challenges. Well, I think an event like IMC and what you're doing here, where you get the academics and the practitioners together, is great for the students to see, because they get a view of the academic side in the classroom, and they can see how what the academics are doing fits with what the practitioners are doing. And I think the practitioners help to validate what you're being taught in class, because it's much like parents. When you're talking to if you're talking to your own children, they might not value what they say, but someone else says, they're like, oh, that's really important. And the same thing for teachers. You have a class and you say it, and then a guest speaker comes in from the practice and says, like, wow, that's insightful. Like, I've told you that 3 or 4 times already. But I think that's really great, them to see how these two things connect up.